Hello, this is Jeff from DocuData, continuing our session on configuring billing in EDC by looking at storage charges. We will start by looking at the relevant settings in the customer information module. Then we will look at storage charges from the box type module and the corresponding charges that will be used in cases where a box type is not applied. We will proceed to look at OpenShelf file storage charges, rental of specific locations to specific clients, and finally, electronic storage charges. EDC bills for the storage and service of a box based on its volume, which is often given in cubic feet. If a box comes into the record center for the first time, it is treated as unsized. It is given a default volume that is set in the customer information module. This is what will be used if you run invoicing before the box can be properly sized. When an unsized box is moved to a location that has a size, it will take the size of that location. This is why it is important for your operations people to scan any odd-sized boxes to sizing cones before you run invoicing. In the Customer Information module, browse to the desired account. Scrolling down to the billing section, we see many settings related to how the account is invoiced. These are discussed in detail in the video on account setup. If you apply a minimum cost per month and the customer's billable amount falls below this number, EDC will apply an adjustment to make up the difference. If the storage checkbox is selected, this will apply only to storage charges. Otherwise, it will apply to the entire invoice. The description for the line on the invoice will come from the price code MINV, which is one of the special system required price codes. Box and tape storage may be charged in advance or in arrears. In contrast, data storage is charged based on the amount in inventory at the time when the invoice is run. Set storage credit to yes if you wish to automatically apply a prorated credit for items removed from storage during the month. If the box that was removed is of a volume that does not match a defined box type, or the customer does not use box types, then the description for this adjustment will be taken from default price codes. If a box type does apply, then this description will come from the box type module. The rate for the adjustment will be the number of days times the storage rate based on 30.5 days per month. High water storage is a storage billing method that can be used when billing in arrears. EDC looks at the number of new items that were added and the number of items that were permanently removed, then bills based on the day that had the maximum number of items in storage. Storage price codes are set up as monthly rates, which is the way that most record centers bill. If you set the storage calculation to daily, then EDC will multiply the monthly rate by 12 to get the annual rate, then divide by the number of days per year specified to get a daily rate. As such, the month of February would be cheaper than the month of January, which has more days in it. This can be confusing for customers. If you bill for storage in advance and the customer adds items during the month, EDC will apply an adjustment for items that were added. If you set this setting to yes, then EDC will bill for the full month. If you leave it at no, EDC will prorate based on the storage charge. If you bill for storage in arrears, then this setting applies to items that were removed during the month but have not yet been paid for. If the Use Box Type setting is set to yes, EDC will use the price code from the box type module whenever a box volume matches a box volume that is defined in the box type module. If this setting is set to no for an account, then the default price codes will be used for all box volumes, whether or not they have a defined box type. Looking again at the box type module on the Accounting tab, we see several settings that relate to storage. A box type is uniquely identified by its volume. Because boxes with different dimensions could have the same volume, the second digit after the decimal is not considered part of the volume and is used only for matching purposes. Boxes with volume 1.20 through 1.29 would be considered different box types, but all would be considered to have a volume of 1.2 cubic feet. The storage price codes provide both the rate and description for storage of these items, and the price codes to the right are used to obtain the description to use for adjustments for items added or removed from storage during the month. The top line is used if the items are stored in regular storage, and the line below is used for items that must be stored in vault locations. If the volume of our box does not match a defined box type volume, then the corresponding default price codes are used as listed here. The remaining price codes relate to service and disposal. We will see those in a moment. If you wish to add a new box type that has many price codes in common with an existing box type, select the template box type and from the Edit menu, select Copy and Add. Give it a unique description and volume, and change the price codes that should be different. Now let's take a look at billing for OpenShelf file storage. The pricing for OpenShelf files is defined using default system price codes. The price code for storage is ETOR. Billing is typically based on the total number of linear feet that the customer occupies. A location becomes occupied when you first scan a file to it, or when you manually set the location as occupied using the Edit menu. If a location that has been occupied no longer contains items belonging to a customer, you can set it to empty so that it will no longer be billed. Note that OpenShelf file storage is presently always billed depending on the number of days in the month, even if the setting for the account for boxes is set to monthly. Some record centers also charge rent for transport containers that remain with their customers overnight. On the Inventory tab, open the Transport Container module, and from the Edit menu, select Transport Container Types. Clicking on the Add button or selecting an existing record and clicking Edit brings up a dialog where you can edit the description of the container and optionally add a price code to bill for rent. This is applied as a daily charge when containers are kept overnight. It is also possible to apply a price code to a customer-specific location. This charge will appear on the storage invoice, and 1 unit of this price code will be charged for each month. If you store barcoded items in this location, be careful to make sure that the storage price code is set to 0, otherwise you may end up double billing the customer. Finally, the storage of electronic documents and images is billed using the system required price code ISTR. Prices are in megabytes per year. Be sure to take your monthly price and multiply by 12 in order to get the value to enter here. Also note that the amount is calculated at the time when the invoice is run. Be careful if you rerun an invoice for a customer several months later, as this value will reflect the current amount.